The chains that are strongest in our lives are sometimes the ones we can't even see. We all like to believe we're freer than we think.
Kelly, what's your name?
Omen.
Omen?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Are you here for the National Day of Prayer?
Sort of. This is Omen.
Hail Satan.
Hey, Omen says, "Hail Satan." Can we stand over here so that I can see you?
Hello.
So I'm here with, I know at least 5 people here that want the, I love it. See, they're coming out to play. We're here talking about, I'm here, we being the people with me and that might watch this in the future.
How are you today?
We're doing, all of us are doing our little parts in our little effort to make people aware of the abuses and things that go on with Scientology.
Oh,
You started.
I live in close to Hollywood.
I live in
There's
Detroit.
a lot of
Oh, you do?
Scientology buildings
You do?
and people, and I've been inside the main Scientology building. They wanted to read my electrical
Your
something
Thetan
and
levels.
that and do an engram thing, and it was a little much, and I had promptly left.
Oh, good. So, can I put you on? Can I flip it? I'm gonna flip it so it's not such a big deal.
I have to use a restroom.
Oh well, let's go. I can walk and talk. Enough.
I'm just finishing
The
my
bathrooms are
breakfast. Do you want
quite
me to go
lovely here.
Yeah, okay.
Time to find a new topic to discuss. Me or the people in chat?
Up to you.
No, I'm talking to somebody that's Michael. Well, go ahead, Mikey. I'm going to keep talking to these lovely gentlemen because I think they probably have something to say that's of value, like most people in the world.
Love it.
Yeah.
So if you had to answer a very Omen, you're being called, summoned. If I do say so myself, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I have to use the restroom and nature
It's a
calls.
little cult joke.
Cults. We are not culty.
You're not culty. Why
Yeah.
are you not a cult? And do people think you're a cult?
Yes, and we are not a cult because we don't have leaders.
You don't
we
have
are
leaders.
Satanists. We worship ourselves. We don't give a flying fuck what people think.
Even then, have you heard of the bite model?
He said, have you heard of the bite model?
So it's this really useful tool to evaluate cult activity.
This is my
It is.
favorite.
What is a cult and what isn't?
That's true.
He's expressing his understanding of the bite model, showing what is a cult and what is not. And you're telling me that these Satanists, most all of them, because some are devil worshippers, I learned.
Yeah.
Very
And you
few.
are Satanists.
Very few.
Very few.
And
Well,
they're both Satanists, unfortunately. Satanism
Always
is
a couple apples in the bunch that ruin
there's
it, eh?
always a couple apples. So every religion, major religion, has denominations, for lack of a better word, and schisms. And they split off and whatnot. Satanism's no different. We have many different types of Satanists. That some are theistic and some are non-theistic. So the devil worshippers are theistic, right?
Theistic.
Yes,
All
they-
right.
they
Those are the
believe-
worshippers. I'm recapping in case the sound doesn't carry through. Not
Yeah,
trying to
no
talk
worries.
like you're not saying it right.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, they have literal supernatural beliefs.
Oh,
Yes.
they have super. Oh, yeah, they believe in the
They believe in the
non-physical.
literal devil.
Yeah, they believe in the literal devil.
We do
devil.
not.
They
To-
don't.
To us, Satan is a archetype and the ultimate rebel against authority and arbitrary authority, and we think that's rad.
Are you going potty?
No.
You want to hang out under the tree and have a chit chat? Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. I
Too
like your shoes.
creepy. Thank
cool.
you. Here. We'll do it together. Less
Fine.
awkward that way.
You got
So, what do you know about like the Scientologists here in are you from Sacramento?
Not originally. I'm originally from West Virginia, but I'm a recent transplant to Detroit. So I noticed the Scientology building. Like, my first ever exposure to
Never
them was
mind, I
actually
lied to
South
you.
Park.
I want them to hear you,
sure.
and they can't if I try to act like I'm in the
Oh,
shot.
you good.
There you go.
Yeah, my first ever exposure to Scientology was actually South Park as a kid.
You're not alone.
Yes, and I'm like, is this a thing? And I just did some deep diving, and so much of it is basically a tax shelter that's based off all these L. Ron Hubbard teachings. I've seen some of the documentaries about, like, things like money laundering, disappearances. Like, I'm not the authority on it, but it just, the entire story's absurd. I mean, sure, you could argue any religion could be. It's stories, but just when you look at kind of some of the money trails, that's about the extent of my knowledge. It's interesting. I'm just kind of skeeved.
Yeah, right, because you're a well-balanced individual, so you stay away.
Yeah, it's like they have so much behavior control, information control, thought, and emotional control, too. So it's why I tend to use the bite model a lot as a psychologist, because, I mean, the line between a cult and a religion, it's so arguable. And one of the more useful ways to determine how much authority do they exercise over a congregation. Take Jehovah's Witnesses, for example. There's so much behavior and thought control. So much comes from the Watchtower Society. They practice shunning. I have relatives that are apostates recently, and I am proud of them. They lost everything.
Is an apostate like a suppressive person in Scientology, somebody that's been
Yes.
kicked out, shunned,
kicked out, and left because of a lot of the misogynistic beliefs the kingdom all espouses. So that was her lifelong religion, and it's so hard to leave because, well, when you're talking about somebody's actual religious beliefs, that goes into their entire identity.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about actual, certified cult where they exercise control over every aspect of your life, who you see, who you talk to, what you think, what you wear, how you interact with the world. Hell, Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, they're encouraged not to speak to outsiders.
That's the problem. So when we roll up to the Scientology, the first time I ever showed up, I didn't have my camera out.
Yeah.
So they let me in and talked to me for a few minutes. But after that, no. And now they shut the doors, they pull all their blinds
They're
down,
secretive.
they shut it all down. And that was another reason I was like, I'm going to go talk with anybody in this event because I just thought it was a great way to just show the difference. Like, I don't have to explain it to people to show, like, oh, look, people talking to me. Shade, which we call it because they love their technology, so people call it shade tech.
So the first Scientology encounter I've ever had IRL.
That means in real life.
Sorry, yeah. In real life.
No, so I just figured this out like a week ago.
I was working on a presentation and going to the American Psychiatric Association convention in San Francisco last year. And we looked out the window, and there's this mass group that's like,
Shut
just
up.
nonsensical
Shut the fuck up.
signs.
I know where you're
like
going
about
with this one.
Angry that we said they can't hit kids. It was something about conversion therapy. Like, what group is this? Scientologists. Apparently they have beef with the APA for some reason. I'm like, okay. It was just surreal.
He was in I'm recapping case because I don't have a microphone that's very good.
Oh, I cut mine down here.
So do I.
So do I.
Look at
I'm lazy and cheap. I just take 2 mirrors and a poser, and there you go.
I'm just cheap. This shit is not easy. It's not lazy. It's a very time-consuming situation. He was in San Francisco. Thank you for speaking with us today,
okay.
by the way.
Yeah,
he was in San Francisco last year, and he was like, well, who are these angry people outside? They're really pissed at the APA, the American Psych or Psychology?
Psychiatric. There's some crossover.
So the American Psychiatric Association conference.
It's where people just present their research and, like, what are the latest findings in the field of behavioral health. It's a scientific conference.
But they're not all scientific.
Not all of them.
No, let's not go down that rabbit
abuses
hole.
in the field,
No.
and I have seen them.
Yeah.
So, but then he saw things like, what about
They
upset that the thought process that's being backed by the APA would be that you shouldn't hit children.
Yeah, it's
And he said
shown.
We was very dramatic. It's not dramatic.
They
but
were.
intense.
They had some really nonsensical signs.
nonsensical
about
signs from Scientos.
We were infringing on their religious freedom. There's something about
APA
conversion
infringes.
therapy.
Oh, conversion therapy.
That's bizarre.
We're gonna have to look into this one.
Abuse of power runs rampant. If somebody is that secretive about information, not letting members interact, and controlling every single aspect of their life. They're not allowed to leave ever or question the authority figures. That's a big red flag. It's where abuses run the most rampant.
Given your perspective of your belief system, do you feel like they are still have the right to believe what they want, and should they be protected with tax exempt status and be held to the same standard, and maybe benefit even financially sometimes?
This is my perspective. I can only speak for me. I'm also not a lawyer
That's all
by
I'm
any means.
asking for.
Considering their track record and what has been shown to be going on, absolutely not. Like, if it was just... It's not up to me to debate the validity of their beliefs. However, if there's that much abuse of power going on, what I care about is the law being implemented and our people being harmed. Like, I mean, we get into a philosophical discussion.
Because they don't report to the law, and I
and the
hear
law is
you.
involved in so many cases.
Yeah,
to
and
protect
there's
them.
oh, God, look at you knowing all the facts.
I'm definitely not an expert, but as somebody who studied satanic panic history and who's a behavioral health provider, I have to be culturally competent, especially in regards to
Look
being
at
able
you
to
with
talk to
your hip
Christians and
language. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I've
how
got
I
to
roll. I want to be
compartmentalize.
able to talk to anybody, but if you are abusive, I really don't care what your beliefs
Yeah,
are. You
like,
need to be stopped.
so
So
I-
that's another reason I would assume you'd be an advocate, because there are people that will, even their practices can bring people. Some of their auditing and the much high, as they get higher in their like OT levels, they're more and more challenged within their mind, and things start really head effing them, and a lot of people do have psychological repercussions, and they're not able to get the services or the care they need because it's their fault.
Oh yeah, like there's...
Are you aware of the suicide rate within Scientology and the Sea
I
Org?
don't know the rate, but
I mean,
I
I'm not.
can't imagine it's...
Yeah. Are you aware
pleasant.
that they lose a lot of persons to that?
I believe it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're removing somebody's entire support network, their basic, very Maslowian needs.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's true.
if
And
my
I think it breaks down their psyche. I think it's
does.
designed to shatter their psyche.
they make it impossible to leave, which is the definition of a cult. If I
Yeah.
cannot leave out of fear that I will lose housing, food, and family, that's holding someone hostage, basically.
But from a psychological perspective, what would you say to somebody that's like, yeah, but it's their choice? Like, they chose to do it. They're not being held against their will. They're,
Yeah.
I mean, let's take away the fact that they
Yeah.
are watched and locked into rooms. But psychologically speaking, there's a lot of people that, quote, stay that look like they're making the decision. What would you say from a psychological perspective
That's
why that's still hostage?
That's a really
keeping?
good question.
I'm good. I'm good with them sometimes.
Sometimes I think
I also don't have the answer, so I'm asking you.
I take things very much by a case-by-case basis. What are the presenting behaviors, symptoms, what's their thought process, kind of seeing what's going on between the ears before I can make an entire simple answer. So I always have to look at every case differently, but even when you look at cases of like Stockholm syndrome
I was just
in real life,
yeah,
like
yeah.
some of the, and even like violent or abusive relationships, the chains that are strongest in our lives are sometimes the ones we can't even see. We all like to believe we're freer than we think. But when you consider how deeply interconnected humanity is, when you think of social relations, family relations, your kids, what you value, when there's pressure to never deviate from whether it's a dogma or what the pastor or what anybody else says, it's so much harder to leave. Sometimes it's a spouse, sometimes it's a parent kicking you out of the house. Sometimes it's Scientology sending you a cease and desist letter. How dare you criticize me?
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Aw.
It's when you see that level of very manipulative and subtle control, or even overt, it's
Yeah.
usually what raises the red flags with me.
I'm so grateful for you chatting with me.
It's
And
okay.
it's not you, it's me. Would you tell me your name again?
Oh, I'm Ash.
Ash. I'm Kelly again.
Oh, good to meet
Can
you.
can I give you a human hug?
Sure.
Do you mind?
Oh, that's
Aw.
cool.
Remember when I said you're either going to find it interesting or you're going to find out where you lie on watching my shit.